My dad kicked my 8-year-old son and me out during Christmas dinner. My sister smiled and said, "Don't ever come back." I quietly left. But 5 minutes later, one phone call changed their entire Christmas. "Hello, everyone. My name is Rebecca Lawson. I'm 35 years old. And the last Christmas I spent at my parents' house ended with my father pointing at the front door and yelling, 'Take your son and get out.'" My 8-year-old son burst into tears. Before I could comfort him, my older sister folded her arms and smiled. "You should leave, and don't ever come back." Mom didn't stop either of them. Instead, she quietly looked at me and said, "Christmas is better without all this drama." I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I simply helped my son put on his winter coat, walked to my car, made one phone call. 5 minutes later, the same people who had proudly thrown us out were desperately trying to reach me. Looking back, this wasn't really about Christmas. It was about years of pretending my son and I mattered just a little less than everyone else. My son Noah was born when I was 27. His father passed away in a construction accident before Noah turned 2. Since then, it's been the two of us against the world. Noah is the kindest child I've ever known. He thanks restaurant servers, leaves cookies for delivery drivers, cries when he sees injured birds. Every teacher he's ever had has said the same thing. He has the biggest heart, which is exactly why watching my family hurt him destroyed something inside me. My older sister, Melissa, had always been the favorite. She married young, had 3 children, lived only 10 minutes from my parents. Mom constantly called them my little blessings. Noah was usually introduced as Rebecca's boy, not grandson, not family, just Rebecca's boy. At first, I convinced myself I was imagining it. Then Noah started asking questions. "Mom, why does Grandma hug Ethan first every time?" I smiled. "Because he's the oldest." A month later, he quietly asked, "Why do Grandpa and Grandma keep pictures of Melissa's kids in the living room? Well, but not mine." That question broke my heart. So every Christmas, every birthday, every holiday, I kept showing up. Not because I enjoyed it, because I wanted Noah to know I'd never stop trying. This Christmas seemed promising. Mom even called beforehand. "It'll just be family. No drama." I laughed softly. "I'd like that." Noah spent 2 weeks making homemade ornaments for everyone. He painted little wooden snowflakes. Each one had a family member's name carefully written in blue paint. He made one especially for Grandpa. When we arrived, Noah proudly handed them out. Melissa's children barely looked up from their new tablets. Dad smiled politely. Mom thanked him, then quietly set every ornament aside. Dinner preparations began. The house smelled like roasted turkey, fresh bread, cinnamon. Everything looked beautiful. For a little while, I believed maybe this Christmas really would be different. Then, Melissa's youngest son knocked over an expensive glass angel sitting beside the fireplace. It shattered instantly. The room went silent. Before anyone could say anything, Melissa pointed directly at Noah. "He did it." Noah immediately shook his head. "I didn't. I was over here." Melissa folded her arms. "Don't lie. I saw you." I looked toward the fireplace. Noah had been helping Grandma carry napkins. He couldn't possibly have been standing there. "Dad, you saw what happened." Dad didn't even look up. If Melissa says he did it, then he did. My stomach tightened. "No, he wasn't anywhere near it." Melissa shrugged. "So now you're calling me a liar." "No, I'm telling the truth." Mom sighed dramatically. "Rebecca, it's Christmas. Don't start." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Noah didn't break it. Just then, Melissa's oldest daughter quietly whispered, "Mom, it was Tyler." Melissa immediately interrupted. "Enough." Nobody said another word, except Noah. His tiny voice trembled. "I really didn't do it." Dad suddenly slammed his hand against the dining table. "That's enough." Everyone jumped. He pointed directly toward the front door. "If your son can't admit what he did, both of you can leave." Noah burst into tears. I stared at my father. "You're throwing your grandson out on Christmas. He brought this on himself." "No, he didn't." Mom slowly stood. "I'm tired of all this fighting. Christmas is better without all this drama." Melissa smiled coldly. "You should leave, and don't ever come back." The room became completely silent. No one defended Noah. Not one person. I slowly knelt beside him. "It's okay." He wiped his eyes. "I'm sorry, Mom." I hugged him tightly. "You have nothing to apologize for." We quietly collected our coats. As we reached the front door, Noah turned around. He looked at Grandpa, then gently placed Grandpa's handmade ornament on the entry table. "I guess you don't want this anymore." Nobody answered. We walked outside. Snow had started falling. Once inside the car, Noah cried quietly beside me. I let him cry. Children deserve the truth, not false promises. 5 minutes later, after Noah had finally calmed down, I picked up my phone, then made one call. "Good evening, Mr. Edwards." My attorney answered immediately. "Rebecca, Merry Christmas. I'm sorry to bother you. You aren't? I've made a decision. I think it's time to end the family management agreement." He became very quiet. "Are you certain?" I looked through the windshield as snow continued falling. "Yes. I've protected them long enough. I'll begin the paperwork first thing after the holiday." "Thank you." I ended the call. Back inside my parents' house, dinner had just resumed. Dad carved the turkey. Melissa laughed with her children. Mom poured wine. Then, Dad's phone rang. He answered casually. His expression changed almost immediately. "What?" He stood up so quickly his chair fell backward. Every conversation stopped. Mom looked worried. "What happened?" Dad slowly lowered the phone. His face had gone completely pale. Sometimes, people don't realize how much they depend on someone until they proudly push that person away. As my parents stared at each other after that unexpected Christmas phone call, none of them realized Christmas dinner was about to become the least of their worries. Dad stared at his phone. The color had completely drained from his face. Mom immediately stood. "What happened?" Dad slowly lowered the phone. "That was Edward's financial." The room became silent. Melissa frowned. "So?" Dad swallowed hard. "They're terminating the family management agreement." Mom laughed nervously. "They can't." Dad looked at her. "They just did." Across the table, Melissa looked confused. "What management agreement?" Dad didn't answer. Instead, he slowly sat back down. For nearly 20 years, Dad had owned a small construction company. Good workers, good reputation, but terrible bookkeeping. Every tax season became a disaster. Until I stepped in. Using my accounting degree, I reorganized everything. Later, when my career grew, I created a legal business management agreement through my firm. My company handled payroll, vendor payments, insurance renewals, tax filings, state licensing, employee benefits, everything. Not because I had to, because Dad had once admitted, "I'd lose this business without you." I never charged him full price, not even close. Every Christmas, instead of expensive gifts, I'd quietly reduce another year's management fees. Dad always said, "I don't know what we'd do without you." Apparently, he forgot. Back in the dining room, Mom finally whispered, "Rebecca wouldn't actually stop helping." Dad quietly answered, "She already has." Melissa folded her arms. "So just hire somebody else." Dad laughed bitterly. "You think it's that simple? The agreement ends Friday. We have payroll Monday." Silence. He continued, "Our insurance renews next week. The tax filings are due. The licensing audit starts next month." Mom slowly looked around the room. For the first time, she seemed genuinely frightened. Meanwhile, Noah and I had already arrived home. He quietly changed into his pajamas, then climbed onto the couch beside me. After several minutes, he softly asked, "Mom, did Grandpa stop loving me?" I wrapped my arms around him. "No." Then why did he believe Aunt Melissa instead of me? That question hurt even more. I carefully chose my words. Sometimes, grown-ups make very unfair choices, but someone else's unfair choice doesn't decide who you are. He leaned against my shoulder. I told the truth. "I know. I'm proud of you." He smiled a little. "I still have Grandpa's ornament." I looked surprised. He reached into his coat pocket. Instead of leaving it behind, he had quietly picked it back up before we walked out. I thought, maybe one day he'll deserve it. I kissed his forehead. "So do I." The next morning, at exactly 9 o'clock, someone knocked on my front door. "Dad." He looked exhausted, like he hadn't slept at all. I invited him inside. He didn't sit. Instead, he immediately apologized. "I failed Noah." "Yes, I failed you." "Yes." He nodded. "I deserve that." For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Finally, he quietly asked, "Can you please restart the management agreement?" I looked at him. "I can." Hope appeared in his eyes. Then I continued, "But not under the old conditions." He nodded slowly. "What do you need?" "I need boundaries. No more family discounts. No more emergency calls at midnight. Everything goes through written contracts. And one more thing." He waited. "If anyone ever humiliates my son again." When our relationship ends that day, without hesitation, he answered, "Agreed." Just then, another car pulled into my driveway. Mom, Melissa, and Melissa's 3 children. Noah quietly looked through the window, then immediately stepped behind me. Mom walked inside. She wasn't crying. Not yet. She looked directly at Noah, then slowly knelt in front of him. "I owe you an apology." Noah stayed quiet. "I believed the wrong person. I'm sorry." He looked at me. I nodded gently. "It's okay to listen." Mom continued, "Your cousin Tyler told us the truth this morning." Tyler stepped forward. His little face was full of guilt. "I broke the angel. I was scared. I'm sorry." Noah smiled. "It's okay. Children often forgive faster than adults." Melissa didn't. She remained standing, silent. Finally, she looked at Noah, then at me. "I was wrong. I saw Tyler break it. I blamed Noah because..." Her voice broke. "Because I thought everyone would believe me." Nobody spoke. Dad quietly answered, "That's the worst part. They did." The room became completely silent. Melissa began crying. "I've become someone I don't like." I answered honestly. "Then change." Epilogue. It's been 4 years since that Christmas. Dad eventually retired. His business was sold successfully after everything had been professionally organized. Not because I rescued him, because we rebuilt our relationship on respect instead of obligation. Noah is 12 now. Every Christmas, he still makes handmade ornaments. Only now, one hangs proudly in my own living room, the one he almost left behind that snowy night. Grandpa eventually apologized to Noah in the way that mattered most. Not with presents, with time. They now spend Saturday mornings building birdhouses together. As for Melissa, she and I aren't as close as we once pretended to be. But we're honest, and honesty is a much stronger foundation than forced peace. My thoughts. Looking back, being told to leave hurt. Watching my son blamed for something he didn't do hurt even more. Children remember who believed them, who protected them, and who stayed silent. That Christmas taught me something I'll never forget. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give your child isn't another present under the tree. It's showing them that their dignity is worth protecting, even when it means walking away from the people you love. Because no holiday is worth teaching a child that they must accept unfairness just to be included.